There's a lot of people online talking about how the right is trying to cancel Tucker Carlson. First of all, this is 100% accurate. Tucker is not MAGA.
Okay. I don't know if you know this, I'm quite anti-cancel. Last week, Tucker Carlson, this has lit the internet ablaze. Tucker Carlson hosted Nick Fuentes on his show. Interview has over 5 million plays, 5 million views as of this time. Both controversial figures in their own right. And of course, there were plenty of people who were unhappy about it. And this is trending everywhere. And people are now questioning, hey, is Tucker Carlson MAGA? And I think that's the wrong approach here. I think the real through line is, hey, we need to contrast truth versus falsehoods. And I think it's really important whenever you're covering these topics, and I mean, whichever side you line up with, don't use victim words. Disgusting, vile, offensive.
Vermin. They said it.
Address the issue. And I think that it's a valid conversation to have. There's certainly some legitimate criticisms to make, but the approach from those reacting on the right, I think, is also pretty destructive. It's time for Claim Truth. So the claim that you are seeing from some people right now on the right who are using the term woke right, which is in and of itself absolutely asinine and makes them look dumb. And I will say this because some people in the montage you're about to watch, some of them have been on this show. Some of them I like. Some of them I agree with on some issues personally, and I disagree with them on a whole lot. So I don't really have a home in this one, which kind of sucks, trying to call balls and strikes. But their argument is that the real problem right now is Tucker and his ilk are not MAGA.
I see somebody with a sign that said Tucker is not MAGA. I guess I got to put his name out there. That's not MAGA.
Tucker Carlson is the most dangerous anti-Semite in America. Make no mistake, Tucker is not MAGA.
You don't get to claim you're MAGA and America first when you're lining up with the Marxists and the Islamists and Hamas and the terrorists. That's not America first. That's sick.
There's a lot of people online talking about how the right is trying to cancel Tucker Carlson. First of all, this is 100% accurate. Tucker is not MAGA.
Okay. I don't know if you know this, I'm quite anti-cancel. And there's a difference, though, between when people say cancel culture, which was a term that was used quite a bit, where that's coming from those in positions of power who are deliberately precluding people because of a specific point of view or political persuasion. I know that that is not the same thing as people en masse deciding that they don't want to support someone and having a problem with it. That's closer to a boycott. And on the flip side, a boycott. And I understand people having disagreements. I have a lot of disagreements with Tucker Carlson. We've gone through them. But let me first clarify what should not be a disqualifying factor. And I don't see some of these people there understanding this. Interviewing controversial figures should not be disqualifying at all. Whether it's Nick Fuentes, whether it's Vladimir Putin, whether it's Sergei Lavrov, whether it's Dugan, who we interviewed, Jeffrey Sachs, or Clint Howard, the lady nun.
I was like, wait, what?
These are not disqualifying factors, nor are bow ties or recently becoming enamored with fly fishing or even putting bow ties on the fish that you fly. I mean, it's off-putting.
Oh, that's cute.
That's where the bow tie went.
Can you go back? I missed that last step of tying the bow tie. Just need to look at it one more time.
I think it's a clip-on. He just clipped it to the gills.
It's a better method.
And by the way, I forgot to tell you, best way to stay in touch, download the Rumble app, follow me there. Mm-hmm. That's where we stream. We are beholden to viewers like you, so we can cover this as honestly as we want. Let me then move on to, unless anyone disagrees, that should never be disqualifying, because I would be disqualified.
No, not at all.
Anyone seeking truth would be disqualified. I've had people on this show who hold abhorrent viewpoints and have tried to argue my point with them.
You know who wanted to cancel Tucker for going to interview Vladimir Putin? It was the people on the left initially.
Right.
So let's not line up with them in the idea of doing an interview with somebody controversial being a cancelable offense. Now, content matters.
Well, the left did it with Donald Trump meeting with Kim Jong-un.
Right. Yeah,
right, being the first president to cross that line.
Closing up the dictators.
Right. Now, there's a huge difference between meeting with dictators or interviewing dictators and cozying up.
Partying.
Or giving them a layup.
Or
a softball.
Oscar.
Right. So that's not. I'm always very uncomfortable with people making that argument, and I see a lot of people saying he's platforming these people. You sound like the left. Now let me put forward what I think should make one skeptical. If you get to that point where you are, for example, running interference, pushing propaganda for known foreign adversaries, like espousing propaganda regarding Russian grocery stores.
So we thought it would be interesting to take a look at a contemporary, modern-day, 2024 Russian grocery store 2 years into sanctions. Here we go. All right. There we go. So I guess you put in 10 rubles here, and you get it back when you put the cart
Oh, he
back.
discovered Aldi.
Yeah.
So it's free, but there's an incentive to return it.
Wait
and
till
not
he
just bring
sees
it to your
Trader
homeless
Nick
encampment.
shows.
Oh, come on.
Trader Joseph Stalin's.
Unicorn and mini mills. All right. And we all came in around $400, about $400. It was $104 US here. And that's when you start to realize that ideology maybe doesn't matter as much as you thought. Corruption. If you
No, it still
take
matters.
people's standard
Corruption?
of living and you tank it through filth and crime and inflation, and they literally can't buy the groceries they want, at that point, maybe it matters less what you say or whether you're a good person or a bad person. You're wrecking people's lives in their country, and that's what our leaders have done to us.
Well, what about Russian leaders literally imprisoning people for holding the wrong political perspectives? Or the fact that 60% of all Russians spend at least half of their income on food because of how poor they are.
But they get their 10 rubles back
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
when they return their cart.
And does Tucker's a smart guy?
Yeah.
You've never heard me question his intelligence. And by the way, I've spent quite a bit of time with Tucker. I used to have a segment on Fox News Sundays where it was a debate with Bob Menendez, the senator, disgraced senator, former senator, his daughter Alicia Menendez, and sometimes Tucker Carlson would moderate it. He's smart enough to know that that is not only half the story, but it's misleading, it's dishonest. I have no problem with him interviewing Vladimir Putin. I'm skeptical when I see someone spouting the talking points that Putin would like that are lies, that are dishonest.
Yeah.
Is that fair? Can you guys comment? Let me know if I'm trying to be as fair as humanly possible. No problem
the
with any.
interview's good.
Yep.
I think that's important. But addendums,
Yeah.
Jeez.
I don't think we need that.
It's propaganda, essentially. Right? And going around and smelling bread, making everything look great and saying, corruption.
Yeah.
It's like, that's kind of the ball game, Tucker. You can make things cheap and almost free to your population. That's not the issue that we have with a Vladimir Putin or a Mamdani or anybody else of that ilk. It's the, mass murder, taking over of industries, silencing people, putting them off in gulags, all of the things that we really care about, like, life being the very first one that gets taken from you if you're not in favor with the regime, okay?
Yeah.
That's the problem.
And by the way, we can hold those views and still think we shouldn't be sending money to Ukraine.
Right.
And that's why you'll never hear Tucker Carlson want to have a conversation with yours truly, because you can't say that we're in the tank for Ukraine. You can't say that we believe that we should be sending an open-ended check to Israel. But that's how they often tar the names of people who oppose them. That's not the case here. And then people responding going, I can't believe that he platformed, insert whatever person here. They're playing right into the hands. And I just don't like seeing the right becoming fractured because of disagreements very similar to the left. You shouldn't platform this person. You shouldn't talk. If Hitler was alive today and I could get an interview, you bet your ass I would do it. Same thing with Stalin. Same thing with Mao. And I can't stand any of them. You wouldn't hear me saying, and by the way, Hitler has actually made Germany pretty good. Or Stalin is actually, he did a great job, though at least he made sure that Hitler didn't. In other words, insert whichever villain here.
But when you go to the grocery store, there's no Jews.
Yeah, exactly.
But have you seen their train station?
Yeah, the train station.
It's the Autobahn.
Here's another example where I think, it should raise some eyebrows. If, for example, you want to interview an imam, great. I did it. Remember, I did it at your old storage unit.
Chowdhury, yeah.
Imam Chowdhury, who literally said that I should be executed.
That's true.
On air.
I didn't disagree with him on everything.
And I remember Gerald going, did you just hear that? I said, yeah. He just said I should be killed.
Pretty much.
Now I disagree with him.
He didn't change your mind?
But if I had interviewed him and then simped for him and be like, oh, by the way, he's right, I should be killed because I'm one of the decadent Westerners, then, okay, it should give you pause if someone simps for Sharia law.
Sharia law is bad, Seth. I don't know if you've heard that. It's bad. It's worse than what's happening in New York and Detroit. It's just bad.
Correct.
I don't know why. You should know, Seth, that the real danger is Sharia law. Sharia law. And you can tell when you go to a place like Abu Dhabi or Riyadh, like, oh man, I hope we don't ever wind up with a society like this.
Now do
With
Kandahar.
a rape rate of 0, where you leave your keys in your Lamborghini and don't ever worry about it being stolen. And, you know, if people want to get wasted, they do it at home. You know what I mean?
Yeah, okay.
And
You guys caught that, right? You said a rape rate of 0.
Yeah.
Do you know the statistical likelihood of there being a rape rate of 0 in an Islamic country? Ironically, it's 0.
But I think it is proportional to the population of goats, though. So, well,
You know,
I mean, I think technically in any civilization, even a Christian nation, you're going to get a 0 rate anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, a 0 rate of a 0 rate.
Yeah.
They have a rape survivors
Rape
who
exists.
report rate
Yes.
rate of 0.
Yes, exactly.
it's true.
They don't really have rape kits. They just have a guilty button for the lady.
But they do have rape kits. You buy them in the store, and it helps you to rape.
Yes, it does. Yeah.
It's like a magic
More
kit.
rape.
Or, you know,
Just
toolkit.
only take 2 of your friends with you because it has to, what is it, 3 or more witnesses to have a rape?
Well, and here's the thing. What gives me more pause is that he's not platforming someone who could question that. In other words, there are plenty of people out there who would say, actually, the rape rate is not 0. And let me explain to you why.
Right.
You won't see that interview. It's not because he platformed someone who I don't like. It's because he platformed some ideas that simply aren't true. I think that's where you can issue your legitimate criticism. I don't know why those on the right who are opposing this are unable to do that. I frankly think that some of them may not be all that smart. And I do know, by the way, that we have to continue. We're going to continue this segment on Rumble Premium. If you are not a member, please consider clicking that button. Joining up, it's $99 a year. You get this wonderful hand-etched mug, or you can try it for $9 a month. You get 100% more show, a bunch of other shows. It's your best one-stop shop, and it's 100% ad-free. Hey, we are funded by viewers like you, and we never want to be in the position where we simply have to parrot what it is you want to hear. We make our references available, and we try to be as transparent as possible. By the way, same thing with Foundation. You go to foundationdaily.com. It's transparent, certificates of analysis. Everything listed on the label is what will be going into your body. Let's continue with the next example. I would criticize this idea, this notion that the Muslim interpretation of submitting to God is in any way good.
I remember after 9/11 when I was like, you know, all about attacking Islam. I knew nothing about Islam. I'm not Muslim, by the way. I don't work for Qatar.
Contrary to what a lot of people think, despite the paychecks from Qatar.
I'm not a secret shit. Right. But I remember hearing someone I worked at CNN at the time, and like we had all these endless experts, most of whom kind of worked for the CIA, but whatever. I realized that later, but I remember who it was come on and be like, you know, Islam is bad. And I was like, sounds bad, you know, whatever. I don't know if I ever met a Muslim, but he's like, you know what Islam means? Submission. And like, let it hang in the air. Like that was self-evidently disgusting. And I was like, I kind of think submission to God is like the whole point of life, but I didn't say anything. I was like, I don't think I'm against that, actually. Like, anyone who submits to God, like, I'm just for that.
Okay, couple of things. Submitting to which God?
Right.
That's a pivotal difference.
Matters.
You know that Muhammad, before he went to the cave and wrestled, he thought it was a demon.
A jinn.
A jinn.
They called him.
And he came back, and his bitch was like, no, that was an angel. He was like,
go back.
Are you sure? It felt pretty evil. Like, no, it's an angel. Go back. See,
it squeezed me until I almost died.
Yeah, but I kicked his ass.
Yeah, this is going to be good for you. Go back to that demon. I'm an angel.
It's going to be good for you.
So submitting to God, but what if you're submitting to a God who says, by the way, the God that all these other people of the book worship, namely Christians, it's actually the false God.
Yeah.
Jesus is not who he said he was, and you can blame the Jews. And by the way, Jews and Christians who were largely ethnically Jewish early on, you can blame all of them for lying and saying that he was the Messiah. None of that. And that's why if you don't submit to our God, which is either A or B, it's either the true God or a false God if you're a Christian. It has to be one or the other. Either you're a Muslim, it's a true God, or you're a Christian, in which case you have to accept that it's a false God. So the way we submit to our God is by killing anyone else who does not submit to our God.
Well.
Also, I don't believe that he didn't know anything about Islam because he was on air nationally for quite a bit of time before that. Now, I was raised on the South Shore of Montreal. I went to Centennial Regional High School. We had a lot of Muslims. We had classrooms that were devoted to prayer, right? During lunch hour. Ramadan was a big deal. Spent a lot of time with them. I had read the Quran before I had finished my very short stint in college. And I realized that it's not about submitting to God. These are legitimate questions to ask. I don't know why someone who would claim to be a Christian nationalist would make an equivalency with Islam. The two cannot be reconciled together.
Yeah. That's why I think this is one of the best examples of what I think it's fair to call Tucker out for.
Yeah.
Right? There is no argument to be made about this. Like, oh, there's context missing. Oh, there's this. Oh, there's that. It's like, no, submission to God is not equal. You could be submitting to the 300 million plus gods of Hinduism or something like that, or you could be submitting to a false deity that says wipe out all the other people that submit to anybody else. Like that, it does make a difference.
Well, and the thing is, like people like Brandon Tatum, and because Mark Levin has been on this show, and I agree with him on a whole lot. I disagree with him on a whole lot. Tucker Carlson will not host anyone who will press him, right? That's just not going to happen. It's not a thing. But these people wouldn't be able to. If the argument that you put forth is, man, Trump's not MAGA, I'm going to call it out. Okay, let's say Tucker invited you on his show tomorrow. What kind of an argument would you present? Just, you ain't MAGA? I would say, well, hold on, let's discuss Islam and submission to God. Which God is that? Hold on, let's discuss the Russian grocery stores. Are you aware that these people live in abject poverty? Are you saying that the ends justify the means if it means jailing political dissidents? I agree that we need to use the appropriate authority of our government to improve the lives of all American people. I don't think that going the direction of Russia under Putin or any Islamic nation, I don't think it's a good thing. So if what you are espousing in criticism of Tucker Carlson is something that would be completely valueless if you were sitting across from him, that to me is a litmus test. These are often the same people who say we should question ideas. Well, I agree. I know that there's some people like Tucker Carlson who don't like ideas questioned. But the people who claim to be traditional conservatives, well, why aren't you going after the ideas? And if you are, you're not doing it very effectively. It just seems like two versions of identity politics on the right, and I don't want to play that game. Next example. This, I think, warrants some skepticism or some follow-up questions. You know, for example, portraying Maduro as like a based tradcon type guy, the communist.
Nicolas Maduro and his government are very left-wing on economics.
Not
on social policy, by the way, which is kind of interesting. In Venezuela, gay marriage is banned, abortion is banned, sex changes for transgenderism are banned. It's one of the very few countries in the entire hemisphere with those policies. It is on social policy, not defending the regime, just saying, one of the most conservative countries in North or South or Central America. Only El Salvador really comes close.
Interesting logo
which is
up
much
there.
Smaller, of course. And by the way, the U.S.-backed opposition leader who would take Maduro's place if he were taken out is, of course, pretty eager to get gay marriage in Venezuela. So to those of you who thought this whole project was globo homo, not crazy, actually.
Yeah, but that's not the primary disagreement. And by the way, of course, there are plenty of abortions in Venezuela. They just don't do anything about it. Also, this is very typical, and Tucker Carlson is smart enough to know. You can say the same thing about a lot of communist regimes. Contrary to popular belief in the West, they didn't envision a future of LGBTQAIP hippie drum circles. No, those people are not useful. If you're going to seize the means of production and distribution, you need a very robust labor force. So birth rates are important. So doing away with the, what they call decadent lifestyle of homosexuality in the West, that also affects birth rates. Then they go the other way with communist China, where they have a one-child policy if they believe that population is a problem. It always just comes down to what is convenient for that government to control its people at that point in time, and is why every single one has been thrust into abject poverty, which I think is kind of important, even if they don't allow gay marriage. So in 2024, while we're making the moral argument, 2024 alone, Venezuela generated $2.6 billion in human trafficking revenue. 188,000 people were forced into labor, 70,000 sex slaves. 105,000 forced marriages. Now, someone could argue, hey, yeah, but the arranged marriages have a higher divorce rate. Well, that tends to happen if you kill someone for divorcing. And I also think we have a huge problem with liberalism in the United States and no-fault divorce. I get it. And people using abortion as a form of birth control. But isn't a central tenet to conservatism, to America first, people being able to make their own decisions regarding marriage, right? And that gets warped. That gets perverted into the choice to kill someone else through abortion. But we can't just abandon the central tenets to our belief. That doesn't mean that you're someone clutching pearls going, my principles. It's like, well, hold on a second. No, this isn't my principles, so I'm not going to vote for Donald Trump. I'm a never Trumper like those people do. This is my principles. I think communist fascists who kill a lot of their people are bad.
Yes. And there's this argument from the far right now. And listen, I think this is why this becomes a problem, is because you don't give people an opportunity to make the point. Yes, there are things that these regimes get right, but they don't get it right in a way that's sustainable or actually good for everybody in the population. If you happen to be in the right class of people in that population and hold the right opinions and have the right duties that you've performed for them, then yeah, life can actually be very good. You have a lot of services that you get to take advantage of.
Right.
The minute that you're not, again, you get shipped off to gulags.
Yeah.
You get disappeared. You don't get divorced. You just get murdered, and nobody asks any questions.
If you completely just sort of uncouple the person from the ideas and the actual results, you can do it with anybody. For example, I go, well, Stalin wasn't bad. Him and Trotsky were arch enemies. How about they're both pieces of shit?
Yeah.
Goatee or not, goatee or stash, I don't care. They were both bad. Trotsky and Stalin hated each other. Different flavor of communism. And you can say the same thing about Stalin and Hitler. Well, at one point, they were you look at Russia and Germany, and they're like, oh, no, not anymore. It's basically a family spat. But if I go, hey, you hate Stalin, right? So you must like Hitler. No. Hey, you hate Trotsky, right? Well, yeah, you think he was evil. Sure. So you must support Stalin. No. You get that? And and here's the one thing that I would have criticism with, is that Tucker Carlson has been consistently undermining the will of the American people, President Trump, and is driving a wedge in the conservative movement right now, where they're punching right, my right, your left, a whole lot more than left. And Donald Trump has been the most effective president of our lifetime. And by the way, I probably disagree with Donald Trump on more than any of the people in this argument, but I can still recognize that the perfect is the enemy of the good, and Donald Trump is the man who I voted for and the man who I support. You have to imagine, what is the alternative? And if no one is presenting a viable alternative, then they could really just be seen as adding nothing more than they're a net harm. And so the through line with Tucker is he's been consistently undermining Trump. Maybe that's why you say, hey, he's not MAGA. Because in June 2025, for example, he said that Trump was complicit in an act of war with Israel. Mm-hmm. He wrote, politicians purporting to be America first can't now credibly turn around and say that they had nothing to do with it, can they? It's worth pointing out that a strike on the Iranian nuclear sites will almost certainly result in thousands of American deaths at bases throughout the Middle East and cost the United States tens of billions of dollars.
Almost certainly, huh? Not even Dave Smith believed that. He was on our show and said, hey, in the predictable response from Iran, they actually showed restraint. And I'm like, oh, if it was predictable, don't you think that the president knew that?
Right. Well, and I would argue that Tucker is not MAGA because he said that he loathed Trump. You guys remember this, right? January 1st, 2021, when some of these texts were revealed, he said, we are very, very close to being able to ignore Trump most nights. I truly can't wait. I hate him passionately. That seems pretty cut and dry.
Yeah, January 4th, by the way, not January 1st. It's
I'm sorry.
Difference. You know.
No. Oh, yeah, you're right. 2021. That's
I don't think I want to see
2021, not 21st.
I haven't had one in a while. It's good.
I don't think I want to see him do anything passionately.
No,
he probably laughs in the middle.
He also said this about President Trump's first term. I think this one is important. He said in a text that we're all pretending we've got a lot to show for it because admitting what a disaster it's been is too rough to digest. But come on, there really isn't an upside to Trump. I disagree. I think he's flawed. I think there's a lot of upside to Trump. That's why he was voted in again. Didn't he come out and then support him in the election or endorse him? Something like that?
Not sure.
There's no upside to Trump. Well, then, if that's the case, then why would anyone support him again? I supported him through all three of those election cycles, and I'm glad that he won. He also, January 7th, described Trump as a demonic force. He wrote, he's a demonic force, a destroyer. And he would know because he got scratched by a demon, which we just sort of glanced past. Like we just, if I were to ever have a chance to sit down with Tucker Carlson, which I very much doubt would happen. And, I'd be very respectful if ever he were to have someone who might push him a little bit. and this isn't even making fun of him. He said he experienced an actual demon assaulting him, leaving scratches on him. Like, why is that not something that more people want to talk about?
Yeah, he got paranormal activity.
Like that. Yes, exactly.
Really did.
That's
Like
even more than paranormal activity.
Why are we not focusing on that?
Yeah, it wasn't just like shuffling the door or something. I mean, I know the series went on. Like it was like scratching him. He's like, "Oh, stop scratching!" It tickles, and then until it doesn't. Like, is that what it's like? Does a demon? Is it like when my grandfather would tickle me, and it was kind of fun until I was sure I was going to die? Is that what your experience was like with a demon? I really want to know.
He did, by the way, support him after the Mar-a-Lago visit. So
okay, well there you go.
And listen, look, the dates on this matter. So that was January 7th of 2021. We all know what happened on January 6th. It matters when he's saying this and reacting to stuff and saying this. And in that article, he said, he's not going to destroy us. I've been thinking about this for 4 years about Donald Trump. So this is not just a snap reaction that he pulls back. It's I've been thinking about it for 4 years. I can't wait to be done with this guy. He's a demonic force that's trying to destroy us. He's a destroyer. Listen, that's pretty. What's the flash of genius moment, like you said? What changed his mind?
Yeah, and why did it take him a year to do a January 6th special when we had been doing it all and claiming there was new footage when it wasn't new? It wasn't new. We had run that footage. I mean, I don't know how many times of the QAnon shaman saying, "We have to be peaceful," and laughed about it. We had our own QAnon shaman in studio. A year later, seems like there's a lot of, no one's buying that Trump is demonic. Okay. Let me get back. And
it takes some time to adjust.
Yeah.
To what's popular.
Is there inconsistency? Is there inconsistency in the subject, in this case, Tucker Carlson, in their own views that they espouse? Is it very hard to keep track of? And is there inconsistency with what has been relatively established as conservative, America first, nationalist values? I would say yes. And that has nothing to do with interviewing Nick Fuentes.
No.
Who maybe, we'll have on the show at some point in the future. I'm sure I would agree with him on some things and disagree with him on a whole bunch of things. Probably would be less of a debate and certainly not like a softball like Tucker Carlson. Like that's what an interview serves. That's its purpose, is to get answers, usually from the person most qualified to give those answers. But if you just skim past them, that's where I think you're right to be skeptical. But please, if nothing else, those on the right, or those on the, if people want to say neocon right, I don't even think a lot of these people, certainly Donald Trump is not a neocon. And that's the weird sort of paradigm that people find themselves in now. Supporting Donald Trump, they're accused of being a neocon. Stop, whoever it is right now, you're not doing the right any favors by using victim words like offended, vile, disgusting, vermin, whatever it is. Go after the ideas, and you know what? Hey, if you do that, then people can see that the person in question is never bringing on anyone who would question his ideas, never bringing on anybody who would push back. But if you start, it would be very easy for Tucker to just say, well, I'm not going to have this person on. This person just said that they want to cancel me. Yeah. He'd be right. I would say the same thing, by the way, of some of those people on the right who've wanted to cancel myself, even though we probably share a lot of the same viewpoints. The second you say that you're going to silence someone, you are now beyond our national borders in the sense that you're not a conservative anymore.
Well, and there are plenty of reasons that we get frustrated with Tucker, but I want to dispel one if I can, right? It's very...
O-N-E.
Yeah, right. It's not spell. Anyway, the...
J-U-A-N.
Okay.
W-O-N.
The more time I give you,
good director,
the more it's going to happen. It's fine when somebody says, I like Stalin, to follow up on that question. And there's people out there going, hey, why didn't you? I understand there's a difference between him interviewing Ted Cruz for like the umpteenth time and dealing with him over several decades and understanding the guy and having an agenda for the meeting. I get that. But when you see that and then you see this softball layup of, tell me more about the Stalin thing, which didn't really happen, people have a little bit of a problem. What I don't see is the anti-Semite call. And I don't know where that's coming from, other than if he says something that is not in Israel's interest, that people are then going to say, well, you're an anti-Semite. Because I haven't actually heard, and I could be wrong, so if somebody sees it out there, send me the clip. I'd love to see it, where Tucker says things that are anti-Semitic. I may have problems with his views on certain topics, but that doesn't make him an anti-Semite. And that's What happens in this debate, this argument that the Mark Levins, unfortunately, right now do all of the time. Anybody that disagrees, the Officer Tatum's out there, anybody that disagrees, they just hate Israel, they're anti-Semitic. No, they just have problems with the current system. That is a totally legitimate conversation to have, not hating anybody, just being America first.
Right.
And I think that's a problem that we have to solve right now. And I don't know that we're doing a very good job of it. It seems like there's more fracturing, especially over the last week or two, over this issue than there really should be.
And it comes at a very opportune moment, doesn't it, for the right to be fractured when we're kind of primed here to do better in the midterms than people anticipated.
Yeah.
When the right has generated a lot of momentum, and it could all be killed because of people who claim to be inside the movement punching right, and all under the guise of, well, this person is not amongst you. I think Brendan Tatum is wrong on a lot of things.
Yeah.
And I don't think that he's particularly effective in articulating arguments. That's just my opinion. I don't dislike the guy. I have no ill will toward him. I don't think he's all that good.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say he's not a conservative. I wouldn't say that he hates this country.
I don't like him on this issue.
Right.
I don't like his position on this issue. I don't like Mark Levin's position on this issue at all.
Right.
And I think he's been out there more than just about anybody.
Yeah.
Trying to silence people that have a difference of opinion. I don't like Ben Shapiro's position on this issue. None of these things are disqualifying from being in the conservative movement, though.
Right.
Like, we just have differences of opinion on this issue. Let's talk about it. Let's work it out. And let's not call somebody Nazi, like Ted Cruz called Nick Fuentes.
Yeah.
And then double down and double down and double down again. Right. And let's not call somebody anti-Semite just to shut the arguments down, because that's not reality.
Well, hopefully that's what I wanted to say too with Dave Smith. I said, I don't think you are. I think there are anti-Semites out there. I think if you are blaming the Jews for all of your, I think that if you have an overdraft fee and you're like, Jew, you're like, okay, that's where I think you might be an anti-Semite. And there are people like that out there.
Yeah.
I don't think Dave Smith is one of them.
No.
And I haven't seen Tucker Carlson be that way. I think he lines up consistently on one side of the issue with an unbelievably biased viewpoint. I think if you're going to apply, hey, we need to do away with aid to Israel, great, I get that. But then make the case that wouldn't it be great if we were like these Islamic countries? Well, no, that's where I get off.
Yeah, but that just doesn't make you anti-Semitic. Like,
no, it doesn't make you anti-Semitic.
Yeah, exactly. So they fundamentally misunderstand their argument. Their argument is, I am America first, period. This does not seem to serve America's interests. It's a problem when you try to apply that same standard when they get to Islam, though.
Right.
Because that is fundamentally against America first.
Yep.
In every way. Just look at London.
Right.
So London, historically, not America first.
No,
but
those bastards.
But to your point of this kind of descent at a time where we're poised to do well in the midterms. CNN right now is doing a poll about unfavorability of Democrat leaders. 55% unfavorable. They showed it a second ago.
They're 25 points underwater. Only 29% of registered voters have a favorable view of the party.
So this is a great time for momentum for the right. And then this infighting and dissenting views and who's not MAGA, who's part of our movement. Like, what a bad time. Like they're crumbling. The left is crumbling. Now is the time to just.
You know what it used to be? To give you an example, like the primary before Donald Trump won in 2016. Mm-hmm. It was a very large primary. I don't remember how many people there were, but this is what people on the right sort of did. Is they go, okay. On that stage, we have Jeb Bush, we have Rand Paul, we have Carly Fiorina, we have Ted Cruz, we had Marco Rubio. Who else do we have? We had Donald Trump, obviously. I'm trying to remember who else was there in that primary. But that tells you there were. Oh my God! I forgot about
Christie
Kasich.
In that one.
Chris Christie was definitely.
That's right, Chris Christie.
He came
both those elections.
buffet.
Yeah.
Right.
And people really thought it was going to come down to Donald Trump, Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio. Definitely not Kasich.
Oh, Jeb Bush too.
Jeb Bush. I mentioned him first, but that told you there was pretty wide spectrum, and then we're going to narrow it down, right, where everyone makes their voices heard. People pick who is best, most representative of the party, and I get there are people in charge sometimes who really sort of more install someone like Mitt Romney. He wasn't anyone's top pick. You could say the same thing about McCain, but in this one, people got to decide and they picked someone different. And then once that happens, you go, okay. And of course, Donald Trump, while flawed or while imperfect, is certainly better than Hillary Clinton. And conservatives, Republicans, those who might be more moderate right, those who might be more nationalists, go, all right, we understand the enemy that we're facing, the enemy within, which is the left that want to trans all the kids and take all the money, and we would become a unit. Now people are just going, hey, that all of these are disqualifying factors. Can you imagine if every single faction there made every difference of opinion a disqualifying factor? Well, no, that's what a primary is. And then these same people say a two-party system, man, is screwed. Well, okay, I was raised in, going back to the issue of Islam, I was raised in what people refer to as a mosaic, right? The multiculturalism where people kind of have their own factions. That's why I did a lot of research into Islam, because I didn't like some of the answers I was getting from very friendly Muslim friends in my school. And the more I read about it, the more troubled I was. That's just how we used to do it. And now people go, oh, okay, let's just destroy the person who went through this process. What do you think happens?
Yeah.
And then it's even funny to me where someone like Dave Smith goes, well, then it would be Vance. I know that obviously next in line would be Vance. You think this guy's going to be less hawkish? But the truth is, if you delegitimize the most effective and one of the most supported Republican presidents of our lifetime, guess what? It doesn't matter who's next in line if they're better. They don't even get a fair shake. Yeah. Is that better for the country? No. Oh, you're still here? And you're still watching this on YouTube? You've probably noticed something is missing by now. I'm not here. That's because the Live Daily Show is now streaming exclusively on Rumble weekdays at 11 a.m. Eastern. Tune in there, where nothing is censored.